Mohon maaf, yang atas nama Arif Adnan Badar, apakah mewakili yang Sinta Nurmayanti? Mohon maaf, operator, apakah sudah menjadi co-host? Oke, teman-teman mohon ditunggu sebentar. Arahannya kita harus menunggu dulu satu presenter lagi. Nanti kalau sudah bisa mulai, akan saya beritahukan kembali. Terima kasih. Oke, kita mulai saja teman-teman. Silahkan diaktifkan kameranya. Operator, apakah bisa sudah mulai di record? Oke, sudah. Oke. Oke, kita mulai aja teman-teman ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Anindita Putri Kusuma Wardani, and I will be serving as your moderator for this session. It's a great honor to welcome you to the International Conference on Interdisciplinary for Sustainable Development, or Interdis 2025, organized by APTISI Commissariat 6B in collaboration with Universitas Informatika dan Bisnis Indonesia or UNIBI. We truly appreciate your presence today and hope this session will be insightful and engaging for everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, I would like to briefly introduce our distinguished speaker for this session. The first is Nur Zahra Lutfiani, and the second is Sinta Nurmayanti, and next is Tina Trianingsi, then Lina Mulyasari, and the last one is Ariel Antaresya. Okay, before the presentation begin, I can kindly remind all participants to maintain order and keep microphone mute during this presentation. Okay, post your question in the chat box or use the raise hand feature. You can choose one. Okay, participate actively during question and answer session. After each presentation, your cooperation will ensure a smooth and productive session. Okay, without further, I'm pleased to invite the first speaker, which is Nur Zahra Lutfiani, to present their topic. The presentation will last approximately 10 minutes, followed by a question and answer session with a maximum of 2 questions of 5. Okay, Nur Zahra, the floor is yours. Okay, operator, can you please play the presentation? Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honorable committee members, and all participants whom I respect. Thank you for the opportunity given to me to present my research paper today. My name is Nur Zahra Lutfiani. I represent the Faculty of Economy and Business of Indonesia, majoring in Accounting 2023. In this presentation, I will explain the result of my research paper entitled The Impact of Green Investment and Good Corporate Governance on Carbon Emission Disclosure, an empirical study of energy companies listed on the Indonesia Stock Exchange from 2019 to 2023. Okay, for the introduction, climate change is a critical global concern and carbon emissions are major drivers of this crisis. Among all industry, the energy sector is one of the highest contributors to carbon emissions. As a response, companies are expected to be transparent by disclosing their carbon emissions as part of environmental responsibility. This research paper focuses on two important concepts. For the first is green investment, which refers to the environmental costs incurred by companies to manage and reduce environmental impact. These costs reflect the company's financial commitment to sustainability, including spending on pollution control, waste management, and other eco-friendly initiatives. For the last is good corporate governance, which ensures transparency, accountability, independency, responsibility, and fairness in corporate operation. However, in Indonesia energy sector, limited studies have examined how these two factors influence carbon emission disclosure. This gap in the literature is what motivated this research. Move to the conceptual model. This is conceptual model used in the research. It illustrates the relationship between green investment and good corporate governance as independent variable and carbon emission disclosure as dependent variable. Their model help analyze whether and how these two factors impact disclosure practice in the energy sector. For the next, to the method study. In this research paper, the initial population consisted of 107 energy companies listed on the Indonesia Stock Exchange during the period of 2019-2023. However, using purposive sampling technique, we selected 55 companies that meet specific criteria, such as availability of completed data and consistency in reporting. And data were collected through a combination of literature review and documentation. For the literature review, I refer to reference journal, books, and previous research studies to support the theoretical framework. The documentation method was used to obtain secondary data from company annual report and sustainability report. And the data were analyzed using FUS 13 software, applying the random effect model, which is suitable for panel data and allow for a company's specific variation. And for measurement, the first is green investment. I adopt from Accepta et al. When environment cost to asset. For the second is good corporate governance. I adopt from Anika Putri, which is a transparency 14 item, accountability 7 item, responsibilities 3 items, and independency 3 items. And the last is fairness 4 items. For the last is carbon emission disclosure, which is a 18 item, measured by carbon emission project, adopt from Choi et al. So move to the result. Now I will explain the result of this research paper, which starting with the particle analysis, green investment had p-value greater than 0.05, specifically insert to 0.512, and this means green investment does not have a significant effect on carbon emission disclosure when tested individually. And for good corporate governance, show p-value less than 0.05 that indicate that GCG has a significant positive effect on carbon emission disclosure. Furthermore, the simultaneous this using the F-test show it from the data presented is this description of the random effect model. It can be seen that the probability value of each variable indicate the influence of the variable partially. For the first, on green investment, variable probability value of 0.27. For the good corporate variable, is found that probability value 0.04. In this condition, the simultaneous influence of the independent variable on the independent variable is seen from the probe F statistic value of 0.07, which is smaller than the significant value of 0.05, which indicate that simultation, the independent variable effect the disclosure of carbon emission disclosure. So for the last is conclusion. For the first, green investment does not have a partially significant effect on the carbon emission disclosure. For the second, is a good corporate governance has a partially significant effect on the carbon emission disclosure. And for the last, is green investment and good corporate governance simultaneously influence carbon emission disclosure. Maybe that's all I can say. Thank you for your attention. Hopefully my research can be useful for future research. And last I say thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Nur Zahra Fitriani, for such an informative and comprehensive presentation. Now we move to our question and answer session. Due time constraint, we will be taking only 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Who want to ask? Nur Zahra? Is there any question for Nur Zahra? Okay, no question. Okay, we will pass it if there's no question. Next presentation is Sinta Nurmayanti. There is Sinta here? No? Okay, operator, please play the Sinta video. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear respected examiners, lecturers, and attendees. My name is Sinta Nurmayanti from the Accounting Study Program at Universitas Informatika dan Bisnis Indonesia. Today, I will present my undergraduate thesis entitled Pengaruh Tingkat Utang dan Ukuran Perusahaan terhadap Persistensi Laba pada Subsektor Telekomunikasi Berbasis Seluler di Indonesia periode 2017 hingga 2024. This research discusses how debt level and firm size may influence a company's ability to maintain sustainable profit, specifically in the context of Indonesia mobile telecommunication companies. The background of this research began with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has accelerated this use of digital technology in Indonesia. This is reflected by the significant growth in internet users, rising from 54.68% in 2017 to 79.50% in 2024. This increase has strengthened the demand for connectivity and the role of the mobile telecommunication subsector. Although the revenue of mobile operators have increased significantly, profit persistent, the ability of companies to maintain stable profit over time remain unchallenged. Debt to level and firm size are suspected to be factors that influence profit persistence. Therefore, this study aims to analyze the effect of debt level and firm size on profit persistence in the mobile telecommunication subsector in Indonesia for the period 2017 to 2024. Based on the background explained previously, the research questions in this study are as follows. 1. Does the debt level affect profit persistence in the mobile telecommunication subsector in Indonesia for the period 2017 to 2024? 2. Does firm size affect profit persistence in the mobile telecommunication subsector in Indonesia for the period 2017 to 2024? And 3. Do the debt level and firm size simultaneously affect profit persistence in the mobile telecommunication subsector in Indonesia for the period 2017 to 2024? This question guide the research focus and help to achieve the study objective. Based on the research question, the objective of this study are 1. To examine the effect of debt level on profit persistence in the mobile telecommunication subsector in Indonesia for the period 2017 to 2024. 2. To examine the effect of firm size on profit persistence in the mobile telecommunication subsector in Indonesia for the period 2017 to 2024. 3. To examine the simultaneous effect of the debt level and firm size on profit persistence in the mobile telecommunication subsector in Indonesia for the period 2017 to 2024. The objective serves as the basis for answering the research problem in the scientific and measurability manners. This research is expected to provide benefits, both theoretical and practical. Theoretical benefit: this study is expected to contribute to the development of accounting science, especially related to profit persistence, capital structure, and firm size. And practical benefit for company as considered for strategic decision making related to managing finance structure and asset growth to maintain sustainable profit. 2. For academic and student as reference for learning and as supporting material for future is related to this topic. The theoretical framework used in this research is signaling theory. 1. Signaling theory explains that companies send signal to external parties through finance indicators such as debt level and firm size. 2. Strong signaling are expected to increase the trust of investor and creditor. 3. Debt level can be a signal of the company confident in managing its obligation. And 4. Meanwhile, firms are signaling operational stability and the company resilience in facing business risk. This theory forms the basis for explaining the relationship between the variables examined in the study. This research used a qualitative method with a descriptive and verification approach. One type of research, quantitative, descriptive, and verification to describe the data and test the effect of the variable. 2. Population and sample. Mobile telecommunication subsector companies listen on the Indonesia Stock Exchange or IDX for the period 2017 to 2024. 3. Data collection technical. Using the documentation method by collecting annual finance report data from official company report. 4. Data analysis technical. The technique used include descriptive statistics analysis, classical assumption test, multiple linear regression analysis, correction and determination coefficient, and t-test and f-test. This method was chosen so the results can be tested scientifically and objectively. The detail of the research location and time are as follows. 1. Research location. Mobile telecommunication subsector companies listen on the Indonesia Stock Exchange or IDX. 2. Research time. And 3. The study used financial report data for the period 2017 to 2024, while the data processing, analysis, and thesis writing were carried out in 2025. The chosen location and period action that the research remaining referred to the current situation of Indonesian mobile telecommunication subsector. The data source used in this research are as follows. 1. Primary data. This research does not use primary data since all data is obtained from published document. 2. Secondary data. The secondary data consists of annual financial report of mobile telecommunication subsector companies listed on the Indonesia Stock Exchange or IDX for the period 2017 to 2024. The data collection technical used in this research is 1. Documentation method. Data is obtained through the documentation method by collecting the annual financial report of mobile telecommunication subsector companies listed on the Indonesia Stock Exchange or IDX for the period 2017-2024. 2. Data source. The data source are the official website of the Indonesia Stock Exchange, which is as www.idx.co.id, and the annual report published on each company. This documentation method was chosen because the required data has been published and can be accessed publicly. The procedure on this research is as follows. 1. Determining the population and sample, which is our mobile telecommunication subsector company listed on the Indonesia Stock Exchange for the period 2017 to 2024. 2. Collecting the annual financial report data using the documentation method. 3. Processing the data through descriptive statistical analysis, classical assumption test, and multiple linear regression analysis. 4. Conducting the analysis of the statistical test result, including the t-test, f-test, and calculating the correlation and determination coefficient. And 5. Deriving conclusion based on the analysis results to answer the research question. This procedure ensures that the research is conducted in the systematic, focused, and measurability manners. The data analysis in this research consists of the several stages. 1. Descriptive statistical analysis used to describe the data of debt level, firm size, and profit persistent in general. 2. Classical assumption test, including normality, multicollinearity, heteroscedasticity, and autocorrelation test to ensure the data meets regression requirements. 3. Multiple linear regression analysis used to test the effect of debt level and firm size on profit persistence. 4. Correlation and determination coefficient. to measurement the stretch out the relationship and the contribution of the independent variable to the dependent variable. And 5. T-test and F-test to test the partial and simultaneous effect of the independent variable. In this analysis, ensures that the research result the scientifically accountable. This is the research flowchart I designed as a guideline for conducting the study. 1. Formulate the research problem, which is the effect of the level and firm size on profit persistence. 2. Develop the theoretical framework and hypothesis based on signaling theory and previous literature. 3. Determine the research method, including research type, population and sample, and data collection technique. 4. Define the population and sample, which are mobile telecommunication subsector companies based on the Indonesia Stock Exchange for the period 2017 to 2024. 5. Collecting data, which is the annual finance report through the documentation method. 6. Analyze the data, including descriptive statistical assumption test, multiple linear regression, t-test, F-test, and coefficient of determination. And 7. Draw conclusion and provide recommendation based on the analysis result. This flowchart ensures that the research in conducive, systemical, and aligned with the set objective. Here are the research results obtained from the data analysis. 1. Variable description. The variable consists of depth level, measured by the debt to asset ratio, firm size, measured by the natural log of total asset, and profit persistence, measured by the earning regression coefficient. 2. Descriptive statistic. From 40 samples, the average debt to asset ratio is 55%, the average firm size is 18.50, and the average profit persistence is 2.5%. Multiple linear regression result. The regression tests show that level has a significant negative effect with a coefficient of minus 0.045, while firm size has a significant positive effect with a coefficient of 0.078. The R-square value is 0.6030, indicating the independent variable explains 63% of the variation in profit persistence. And t-test and f-test result. The t-test results show both variables have a significant partial effect, while the f-test show a significant simultaneous effect with a f-value of 15.670 and a significant level of 0.00. These results supporting the hypothesis that the level and firm size affect profit persistence. Based on the result of this research, the conclusions are as follows. 1. Debt level effect profit persistence in the mobile telecommunication subsector in Indonesia for the period 2017 to 2024. 2. Firm size effect profit persistence in the mobile telecommunication subsector in Indonesia for the period 2017 to 2024. And 3. Debt level and firm size simultaneously effect profit persistence. 3. Company management should pay attention to the capital structure and business scale to maintain sustainable profit. It is hoped that this research can provide benefit for the development of knowledge and future business practices. That concludes my thesis presentation today. I realize that this research is not perfect and still has some limitation. Therefore, I kindly ask for your constructive feedback, suggestion, and advice to improve it. I hope this research can provide benefit for the development of knowledge and practical use in the telecommunication sector. Thank you very much for your attention and your time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Oke, Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Sinta Nurmayani for the excellent presentation. Because Sinta Nurmayani is not here, so we will pass the question and answer session. Okay. Next, we will have Tina Trianingsih as our third presenter. Okay. Operator, please play Tina video. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon and greeting to all of us. I am Tina Trianingsih from the Management Study Program at the Indonesian University of Informatics and Business. I will be presenting a research titled The Influence of Humor's Content Marketing and Iwan Credibility on Purchase Decision for Basreng Sultan Bandung Product. Next, number of internet users in Indonesia. Based on the data in table, the author conclude that internet usage continues to increase from year to year. The rise in internet usage is complemented by a high level of community engagement supported by social media. Next, average time spent by internet user in Indonesia on accessing social media. According to the We Are Social report, access wearesocial.com, in the table, the average internet user using the internet through any device spend 3 hours and 11 minutes per day. Next, top social media Indonesia. Based on figure, data from the global statistics state the TikTok ranked there as the social media platform with the highest number of active users in Indonesia, with a total of 129 million users. Next, product recap on TikTok Shop. Among the three, Basreng Sultan Bandung received the lowest TikTok Shop rating, with the lowest number of video likes at 10 and 4 million, which is still far behind its competitor. Next, yearly sales data of Basreng Sultan Bandung product, it can be seen that sales have declined over the past 2 years. As a result, the level of enthusiasm for purchase decision during that period tended to decrease, leaving many products unsold. Next, the humor's content marketing activity on the Basreng Sultan Bandung TikTok account experienced fluctuation from September to April. The increase in view has not been followed by an increase in engagement, presumably because the content is not sufficiently relevant or appealing to the audience. Next, preliminary survey result on electronic word of mouth IWOM credibility. Based on the first survey result in table, most respondents often encounter reviews of Basreng Sultan are unsure about positive information, receive recommendation from previous buyers, and feel the TikTok account provides trustworthy and informative product insight. Next, problem statement. Number 1, what is the overview of humorous content marketing, electronic word of mouth, credibility, and purchase decision for Basreng Sultan Bandung product? Number 2, to what extent does humorous content marketing influence purchase decision for Basrang Sultan Bandung product. Number three, to what extent does electronic word of mouth credibility influence purchase decision for Basrang Sultan Bandung product? And number four, to what extent do humorous content marketing and electronic word of mouth credibility simultaneously influence purchase decision for Basrang Sultan Bandung product? Next, research purpose number one, to identity Number one, to identity the overview of the influence of commerce content marketing and IWM credibility and purchase decision for Basrang Sultan Bandung product. Number two, to determine the extent to which commerce content marketing influence purchase decision for Basrang Sultan Bandung product. Number three, to determine the extent to which electronic word of mouth IWM credibility influence purchase decision for Basrang Sultan Bandung product. Number four, to determine the extent to which commerce content marketing and electronic word of mouth credibility simultaneously influence purchase decision for Basrang Sultan Bandung product. Next, conceptual framework management, marketing management, consumer behavior, EMC, integrated marketing communication, purchase decision, commerce content marketing, and electronic word of mouth credibility. Next, commerce content marketing influence purchase decision for Basrang Sultan Bandung product among TikTok application users. Next, electronic word of mouth credibility influence purchase decision for Basrang Sultan Bandung product. Next, commerce content marketing and electronic word of mouth credibility influence purchase decision for Basrang Sultan Bandung product. Next, research method. Research methodology, the type of research used in this study is descriptive verification, research with a quantitative approach. The population in this study is Basrang Sultan Bandung TikTok followers with a total of 1 million followers. And sample to determine the number of samples from the population in this study, the Ishak and Michel formula was used. And data collection technique number one, questionnaire, number two, literature study, and instrument testing technique number one, validitas, and number two, reliabilitas. Next, data testing techniques. Number one, classical assumption test, normality test, multicollinearity test, heterokedasticity test, and multiple linear regression coefficient, and multiple correlation coefficient analysis, and coefficient of determination. Next, hypothesis testing, and number one, partiality test and simultaneous FT test. And thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tina, for this excellent presentation. Okay, is there any question for Tina? Is there any question for Tina? Zahra, maybe want to ask for Tina?
Okay, here I want to ask to Tina Triniasi. For the question, Tina, is why did you choose to focus on humorous content marketing and IWM credibility as variable influencing purchase decision?
Okay, thank you for your question, Zahra. Okay, Tina, please answer the question.
These variables are highly relevant to TikTok as a marketing platform. Commerce content attract attention and engagement, while credible IWM will trust. Both are key factors that can influence consumer purchase decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for response, Tina. And next we have presentation from Lina Mulyasari. Okay, operator, can you play the Lina Mulyasari video, please?
Hello everyone, my name is Lina Mulyasari. I'm a student from Universitas Informatika dan Bisnis Indonesia. Today I will be presenting my research on analysis investigation of digital evidence using MD5 hashing and error level analysis or ELA. The background of this research is rooted in the significant impact of rapid digital technology development on our daily lives, particularly in how we communicate and spread information. Unfortunately, the internet is now filled with various types of unverified information, such as hoaxes, provocation, and slander. This research combines two methods, MD5 hashing and error level analysis, or ELA. The goal is to analyze the authentic of digital image by identifying potential manipulation. It is hoped that this research will contribute to digital forensic that is liquid and easy to operate. The main objective of this research is twofold. First, to apply MD4 hashing to identify authentic of an image by comparing the hash value between the original and the edit version. Second, to use error level analysis or ELA to detect visual manipulation, such as the edition, deletion, or modification of object within the image. To achieve this object, our research followed the NIST-SP 186 digital forensic framework. The systematic approach includes the stage of collection, examination, analysis, and reporting. Our technical method primarily involve MD5 hashing and ELA, support by perceptual hashing, different image, and histogram ELA. The entire analysis was conducted using Python on Google Collaboratory enhanced with the Gradio library for an interactive user interface. We asked dataset of digital image in JPG format, categories into original and the manipulation image. On this slide, you can see first case original image on the left and the edit version on the right. Based on analysis, we found significant difference in the MD5 hash value between the original and edit image, which confirm that its file has been modified. The perceptual hash difference is small, for which suggests visually the image are still quite similar. However, the ELA results saw a mean of 30.49 and maximum value of 255, indicating that manipulation is present or system flagged is highly different from the original image. The different image This is different image visualization. The bright area on the face and uniform from show a significant pixel value difference, suggesting that some adjustments, such as change in the contrast or lighting, have been made. Here is the ELA visualization. The bright non-uniform noise pattern escapely to subject's face and uniform indicate that this area have a different composition is history than the, than than the rest of the image, which a strong sign of manipulation. Then is histogram. Future support or ELA finding while most pixels are in the low error range, we can see significant spike around the 50 pixel value. The spec show there are specific area with high conversation error consistent with digital editing. Now let's look at a second case. Here we have another original image on the left and edit on the right. You can see the flag in the image has been replaced with a different logo. Okay. For this second case, the MD5 has value are also different, again confirming file modification. The perceptual has different is much large at 17, which strongly indicate a significant visual difference between two images. The ELA result also saw a high mean of 39.36 and a standard deviation of 53.35 with a max value 255, all pointing to extensive manipulation. Different image hardly visual the manipulation. The bright colorful noise over the entire flag show that the logo was changed, and the person hands and shirt and skirt also have have some bright spot indicating they were also affected by the editing. The LI visualization for this image is a strong indicator of manipulation. The bright, colorful, intense noise pattern across the entire flight confirm that this part of the image has completely different composition history from the original. Uh, similar to previous case, the histogram for this ELA image showed a dominant peak at a low pixel value, but also a specific spike at the 50 pixel value and another scattered peak. This non-uniform distribution of error level is a clear sign that manipulation has occurred. In conclusion, our research demonstrates two key findings. First, the MD5 hashing method is effective identifying the hash value of both original and edit image. Second, the error level analysis or ELA method effective support the detection of digital image manipulation. ELA successful identifies recomposed or modified area by showing a non-uniform or level pattern which appears as brighter area in the ELA image and high error pixel distribution in the histogram. And so concludes my presentation. Thank you for attendance.
Okay, thank you, Lina, for your such excellent presentation. Is there any question for Lina?
I have a question, Nina.
Okay, Tina, please give your question to Lina.
What are the advantage of each method, ND5, hashing, and ELA in detecting image manipulation?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for a question. This is the core of research, so I will explain it in a simple way. Imagine we want to check the authentic of a photo. MD5 hashing is like a digital fingerprint. For every file, every original photo has its own unique code. If that photo is changed, even just a single pixel, its digital fingerprint will change completely. So MD5 is very good at providing quick verification of whether a photo has been manipulated. You only need to compare two code, and if they are different, it means the photo is no longer original. And meanwhile, error analysis work in a different way. L analysis, the scores or pattern on an edit photo when a photo is saved or edit, its compression will leave a certain pattern. If a new part is added or changed, its compression pattern will be different from the original part. Ella identify this difference and display them visual. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Lina, for your response. And the last one, we have Ariel Antaresya as our presenter. Okay, operator, can you please play the Ariel video? Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Ariel Antaresya from the Indonesian University of Informatics and Business. Today, I will be presenting my personal project titled Designing a Motion Graphic as a Visual Storytelling Medium for Documenting Urban Legend in 6 areas in Bandung City for young adults aged 18 to 25 years. Introduction. Urban legends are cultural heritage that shapes a region's identity, reflecting a community's values and beliefs. In Bandung, many urban legends are passed down orally, such as Rumah Kentang and Gua Belanda. However, these stories risk being lost due to a lack of documentation. The challenge is to find an engaging way to preserve them for a young audience familiar with visual media. Motion graphics offer an innovative approach. As a dynamic visual medium, they blend illustration, typography, and audio to tell a story that's easy to understand. This project aims to create a motion graphic to tell the stories of urban legend in 6 places in Bandung, including Rumah Gurita, Villa Isola, Rumah Ambulan, and Rumah Pengabdi Setan. The motion graphic is expected to be an effective documentation tool for the introduction this local culture to young adults aged 18 to 25. Problem identification. Urban legends are a part of non-physical cultural heritage that is at risk of being lost due to a lack of modern documentation. The challenge is to find an effective and engaging medium to preserve them for a young audience. objective. This project aims to design a motion graphic as a visual storytelling medium to document urban legends in 6 locations in Bandung City. Literature review. Motion graphics. Motion graphics are a piece of time-based visual media that combine film and graphic design. This is achieved by blending various elements such as 2D and 3D animation, video, film, typography, illustration, photography, and music. Soekarno and Setiawan. Illustration. Illustration is the combination of personal expression and visual representation to convey an idea or concept. Rita Barat. Literature review. Urban legend. In folklore, an urban legend is a story about an unusual or humorous event that many people believe to be true, even though it is not factual. Typography. Typography is the art of arranging and processing letters on a specific medium to achieve aesthetic beauty and functional readability. Goals in communication. Hananto. Methods. Research methods. The method used is the design is a qualitative research method. Zulkarnain 20 and 21 states that qualitative research is a method for gaining a true and holistic understanding of the phenomena experienced by a subject, including their behavior and motivation. Data collection technique. Primary data was collected through observation. Secondary data was gathered from an online literature study, including articles and news from the community. This technique was used to collect detailed narrative for each urban legend at the 6 chosen locations. Result and discussion. This motion graphic is an effective modern visual storytelling medium. The sketch hand-drawn visual style creates a mysterious atmosphere fitting for urban legend. The design successfully engaged the target audience of young adults aged 18 to 25. The combination of illustration, typography, and atmospheric audio makes the narrative easy to understand, turning it into an innovative visual archive. Pre-production. This stage consisted of gathering visual reference and creating initial sketch. Production. This involved the process of creating illustration with Photoshop and animating them into motion graphic using After Effects. Motion. The production processes began by importing pre-made multi-layer image into After Effects. The camera tool was used to create a perspective effect by moving the camera through this layer. Explanatory text was also added on separate layer to achieve the same dynamic effect. This process blended illustration and text to enhance the overall visual storytelling. Post-production. His stage was the combination of the different motions that had been created, along with the addition of sound effect and background sound. This process was done using Premiere Pro. And this is some scene for my projects. Conclusion. This motion graphic design project successfully proves that visual media is a highly effective and innovative tool for documenting and preserving urban legend in Bandung. Through a visual storytelling approach with the sketch hand-drawn style, the narrative of these oral tales can be presented powerfully and engagingly to the young adult audience aged 18 to 25. As such, the motion graphics serves not only as a form of entertainment but also as a relevant visual archive for the introduction local cultural heritage to the younger generation. And here are some citations that I use. And that concludes our presentation of my project. I hope this project can become a relevant visual archive for preserving urban legend in Bandung. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ariel, for your excellent presentation. Is there any question for Ariel? Is there any question for Ariel? Lina, can you please ask to Ariel? Lina, can you please ask a question for Ariel? Please open your mic. Lina, please open your mic.
Okay. I have a question. How long did it take to complete this project?
Okay. Thanks for the question. The overall duration of this project from the initial ideation phase to the final output was approximately 5 months. However, it is important to note that my working process is not continuous. I dedicate only 1 day per week to this project. Therefore, if we were to calculate the networking time, the total duration would be around 1 month. The extended overall timeline was due to the careful planning and research that went into each stage of the production process. Like that. I hope your question has been answered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ariel, for your response. Okay, that's all for our presentation today. Okay, if you have any question that we won't answer here, you can chat it in the WhatsApp group or you can ask directly to the presenter. Okay, before the presentation is end, I will take the photo group first. I will take it twice. Okay. Okay, I will count it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait a moment. Okay, I will take it one more. Okay, I will count it. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank to all speaker and participant for your valuable contribution to today's session. We look forward to your active participation in the upcoming session. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the conference. Okay, you can leave the Zoom meeting after this. Thank you so much for all presenter. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody.